Hey everybody, we are live with Lieutenant Dan, the head developer for the X NFT, which is a new collection coming to Ethereum and hopefully Wax. How are you doing today?
Doing good, man. Excited to be here talking to you, man. We've been talking about this for a couple of weeks now. I'm glad we finally got put this together.
Likewise. So do you want to tell us a little bit maybe about like your background and I guess maybe you could start like how you got into gaming and game developing.
Yeah. Do you want to start with the video? I mean, that might give a
Yeah.
really good introduction to like who I am and what I'm about.
You're all full screen it too.
I'll stage it though. So this is I have a dev diary. It's 10 years in the making. This is my first episode. This was back when I was at Activision. I was at their company called Vicarious Visions, which is one of their studios that's up in Albany, New York, and that's where I started our studio's first dev diary. And while I was there, I did several dev diaries, but this is all a montage leading up to the X, which is my new project, and it started, way back when I was in college, even before here. But I really started iterating on design ideas and where technology was going to go. And working at Activision, I was around a lot of people that gave me a lot of, they taught me a lot, and I learned a lot, and it's part of my dev diary leading up to the X. So this is the first episode.
All right. Am I good to start it?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Activision was number one back then. We were working on the top 3 games in the world at that time. I was just promoted to lead designer when I started creating our studio's first ever dev diary. It was no accident they chose me.
This is my office at work.
I was the guy with the camera.
Hold on.
I've always been that guy.
Hello.
Hello.
Having a camera was the only reason anyone paid attention to me.
How's your Steadicam trick working out there?
I carried it everywhere, introduced it to everyone,
Dude.
showing it everything. I would talk to it as if it was my best friend. Also watch this, the crowd reacts based on the amplitude coming from the microphone. For many years, it was my only friend.
Great games start with great people.
I ate with it, I slept with it, I even took a shit with it. It captured everything. Everything I loved. Every win. Every loss.
I'm tired of losing. At everything, I'm tired of losing.
All my obstacles. And right now, he's my biggest one.
Do I clap at the start? Okay. Hello, I'm David Fifield, lead designer for the Action RPG team here at Vicarious Visions. We're here today to talk about the prototype we've been developing called Fire Team.
David was one of the best combat designers in the world, an Army veteran, which gave him a leg up on me. He was famous in the gaming world for developing UFC's combat system, and we were both going after the same position, lead designer on Call of Duty. The best thing about having a camera is you're always taking notes. I studied him like I studied all the greats. Miyamoto, Will Wright, Cliffy B. You need to study them.
There is design that could be called art.
Their strengths, their weaknesses, where they're going, where they came from.
I loved playing games.
All the great designers had one major flaw. Their games weren't real. I'm gonna change that one day. Right now, I have to learn everything I can about motion controllers. The Nintendo Wii just hit, and everybody was excited to see what we would do with Marvel's Spider-Man 3.
Get swinging. Nice height. Good form. Ooh, nice flip.
I was assigned the tutorial missions. My job was to train you. That's always been my job. To make you better.
Yeehaw! Get along, little doggy. We got ourselves a rodeo.
I learned a lot on Spider-Man 3. And a lot about motion controllers. But the biggest lesson is that one day you won't need a controller. I spent the next 2 years on Marvel titles, working on hero after hero, preparing myself for the ultimate hero game, the #1 game in the world, Guitar Hero. Shout out to my boy Jay Wiley. He no-tracked that song. He was the best guitarist I've ever met. He went on to be a composer for League of Legends.
What game is this from?
This is all from League.
That's from League too?
Yeah, this is she's one of the first early champions, and she's
That's what was cool about Guitar
a
Hero.
little beast.
It was musicians and game designers coming together.
Hold on. Also watch this. The crowd reacts based on the amplitude coming through the microphone. How's everybody doing tonight? How's everybody doing tonight?
I just created my first virtual reality experience. It was for Guitar Hero. I used the microphone as a motion controller, live cinematic crowds. It was the most realistic music experience ever created.
Keep going. Keep going.
The people that had a chance to test it, a lot of them didn't know what was happening. It was so real. It was making them nervous, scared. I could build their confidence. I can change them. I'm on to something here. I know it. I called it the hero. It was my first virtual reality experience. I knew right then all I wanted to create was realistic simulations of real life experiences. This was just the beginning for me. I never stopped. I didn't know at the time they already canceled Guitar Hero.
And in some sad news, Activision Blizzard announced today that they will disband the entire Guitar Hero franchise and cease development on its previously planned 2011 Guitar Hero title.
These game companies don't like to tell you those things. It's a surprise. Anyways, I already moved on. I was deep into Call of Duty now. I began dreaming up what a war simulator would feel like. What it would look like, sound like, or experience the usual habits. We want to train. I started absorbing mass amounts of content. Everything from the front lines in every war. all the documentarians, all the soldiers that would strap on cameras. I watched all their content over and over, studying it. How can I make this the most realistic combat simulation ever? I wanted to take Call of Duty to the next level. And then I had my shot. And I took it.
I wanted to design a game that was more for a larger target audience, a bigger demographic. Roman history is everybody's history.
I created 2 Call of Duty prototypes. One you might have heard of.
The footage of a Roman-inspired take on Activision's popular Call of Duty franchise has reportedly surfaced.
A demo for the Lost Call of Duty game apparently impressed Activision and was even seen by CEO Bobby Kotick.
We almost had Call of Duty Roman Wars.
It's called Call of Duty Roman Wars, and the game followed the story of Julius Caesar's 10th Legion.
Activision considered making a Call of Duty game.
The game concept was proposed by a former employee while working at the studio.
The source wished to remain anonymous, going only by the codename Polemus.
Polemus told Games Radar that you'd play as several different characters, from a lowly grunt to Julius Caesar himself.
The Roman-themed Call of Duty game revealed this week was never likely to be made, according to Activision. An Activision spokesperson said in a statement to IGN, the game concept was proposed by a former employee while working at the studio.
The publisher was reportedly reluctant to attach the Call of Duty branding to the game because it was so different. The project was eventually scrapped, and Activision went with Call of Duty Advanced Warfare instead. We've reached out to Activision for comment. For more on Call of Duty, keep it here at IGN.
Roman Wars got shot down. Along with my dreams of ever leading a Call of Duty team. I had to leave Activision in order to make this game. At the end of this dev diary, there's only 2 outcomes. Either I'm dead, or we succeed.
Let's go.
That video is awesome. So yeah, that's a little background on Lieutenant Dan, where he started. It's pretty epic that you've worked on some of those games. I grew up on
This is
some of them.
Minecraft, but your XP equals your time.
I didn't click the video. YouTube's not supposed to start playing it. Sorry about that. They started playing the next video. But yeah, especially the whole work on the motion controllers. And I didn't know that Guitar Hero even did that, like live in person, well, like semi-live, like virtual.
Yeah, so that was real early. That was real early. We were really just playing with like depth back then. I don't know if you saw, there was a couple Wii prototypes that had like it had the Wii head controller attached to a head-mounted display, and the guys that were testing would move in and out, and it would show depth going into the regular screen, your TV screen. So that was like the first like in where it's more immersive, where there's actually depth to the user's positioning. So I used that concept and I combined it with live cinematics. There's a couple ways to do live cinematics. The people will call them like action-based cinematics or animation-based cinematics. Basically, you film scenes or a person in a certain way where they have loop points, and then they have actionable transitions based off those loop points. So that was like the foundation of what Guitar Hero Live was eventually ended up being, whereas that live video crowd, but it would react, so it would have loop points, and then it would transition to action points. So I actually started back in college doing this animation-based filming stuff, combining film and games back then. I think that was one of the reasons Activision and a few other companies were like really scouting me out, because I was combining film and games in a different way, because that was my mission. Like I always wanted the visual fidelity, quality of a film, and interactivity and interoperability of a game put together, and mash that together, so you can actually play the hero in the film. That was my goal. And like on Guitar Hero, Yeah, it was my first like really dive in deep with animation-based filming techniques and using motion controllers and distance and depth, putting in a first-person perspective, right? So you are the hero of the game, and that was what I really saw. I really noticed it when my CEO, Karthik Bala. So the Bala brothers were the ones that were running Vicarious Visions. They're two brothers, Karthik and Guha, right? They're the baddest. There's two of the baddest ass designers on the planet that people don't even realize. They're the ones that just did the new Mario Kart for what's the handheld Nintendo called now? The Switch. Yeah, so they did the new AR Mario Kart for the Switch. So they've been doing
the one where you could drive the toy, right?
Yeah, so these guys have been doing
that's
AR.
awesome.
I learned a lot. I used to sit and have coffee with Guha in the morning, and we just would talk about design ideas and stuff. Yeah, I would just pick his brain. You know, Karthik was a big one too. He was big in Guitar Hero, but Guha was big into a little bit of everything. And so I saw them already having small teams, innovation teams that are working on AR and VR and working on Spyro Skylanders, bringing the toy figurines into the game and back out.
That game.
Yeah, so that augmented reality play, I saw that happening on Skylanders. We were doing it early on 3DS, and I was the first time I knew that I was onto something is Karthik came into my my office, and I showed him the Guitar Hero live prototype and put him on stage with the mic. And when he started talking into it, the crowd started reacting differently based on his inflection points and how loud he was talking. And he looks over at me. He's like, "What is happening right now?" And I was like, that's the exact response I wanted you to have, because you don't know what's happening. It's something you feel before you know what you're experiencing. And that's what I think is like the big thing in virtual reality. It's not something that you push on someone. They'll just feel it. They'll feel like something different is happening. It's almost dreamlike. And that's you know, once I saw his reaction, I knew I was on to something using, you know, making AI come to life more, making it look more realistic, and putting you into the hero's shoes, first-person perspectives. That's what I'm really good at, first-person perspectives. You know, I wouldn't probably jump on, you know, even though I've worked on third-person perspectives, Skylanders, Marvel Ultimate Alliance 2, Spider-Man 3. All those games were third person, but where my skill shines is first person. And Call of Duty Roman Wars, man, it was a real play at showing first person melee in a new way. I've only saw a couple games actually pull it off. Condemn pulled it off really where it's like a first-person shooter where it's skill-based. It's based on timing, reaction, speed, movement. People like Call of Duty and games like Call of Duty because it's a skill-based first-person shooter, right? It's something you can get better at constantly by knowing your movements, how to run fast, bursting fast, get into positions, knowing the layout of maps, all that stuff. And I think, you know, no one's really brought that skill-based level to a melee game yet in a way where it feels like you're in a fight, right? It's more of a game where you're just pressing buttons, and it's a game. It's fun. All the games that are out there, Skyrim, all the, you know, Assassin's Creed, all those games, they're fun. They're well designed. They're beautiful games. But does it feel like I'm in a fight? Like Call of Duty makes you feel like your adrenaline, like shit, dude, I'm in a fight. It feels like you're in a real fight in some ways. And especially Modern Warfare 2, it feel like you were like, you know, your adrenaline's going, you were feeling those. And I wanted that same thing to happen in a first-person melee where it's like close combat, right? Where it's like, and Splinter Cell did it a little bit, you know, when Splinter Cell had that, where they had that when they first went online, when you'd sneak behind someone and get them in a choke, and you could start talking to them real quick before you snap their neck. Those kind of things, man, I wanted to really bring in hand-to-hand combat Yeah,
show the
Condemn.
different games. That's Condemn. And I
Yeah,
guess you
check
can
out
see like
Condemn.
some of the first person.
Yeah, if you haven't played Condemn, just play it and look at their block and parry combat system. It's that was what I was bringing to Roman Wars, a block and parry system.
See, there we go. Yeah, using the pipe.
Yeah. And you had to time your blocks right. You had to react quickly. It felt like you were in a fight. And I knew with motion, and that wasn't even using motion controllers. That was, I think they had it on the Dreamcast I was playing it on or something else. Xbox, they had it on. But that was not even using motion controllers. I knew if I brought motion controllers and using a block and parry combat system like them, now we're in a fight. Now I could use my hands. Now I actually could gain a skill. I'll know how to slip and hit, right? So like that was the idea behind Roman Wars, to really bring a skill-based close quarter combat melee combat system to life. And I brought it into the I wanted to take it in the past first to show you guys the future. I wanted to show you the past before I could show you the future, because of me as a director, as a content creator, and especially when it comes to war content, combat content, I want to make it as realistic as possible, right? And I can introduce a realistic combat game starting in the past easier than I can show like a modern combat game in a realistic style, because the graphics and stuff is really gnarly, dude. And when you see like people can get used, like you can see them already, they're sort of like desensitized to like Game of Thrones and a lot of the crazy shit that's happening. So you can slice off someone's head, you can gut them, you can do all this stuff. So like Mortal Kombat, all those games have desensitized you to that.
But like RoboCop.
Yeah. So you've seen it. It's desensitized. You can introduce the past easier. Now, if I showed you a war in the future with like in today's time, when a bomb goes off with civilians and the graphic of that nature, if you've ever seen that real footage from the front lines, like I've experienced a lot, I've saw more footage from the front lines than anybody on the planet. I could tell you that bar none. I have probably 100 terabytes of combat footage, all in these hard drives, all right here. And all I've seen is looked at it all, and something probably a lot of the times, I can't even get those images out of my head, right? So I have to see, how am I going to introduce this? How am I going to introduce modern warfare? And what do I choose to show them so they're not so graphically disturbing, right?
Yeah, I like how you're calling that modern warfare too, rather than like just using modern weaponry. It's about like the way in which combat is handled nowadays. It's entirely different.
Entirely different. When an IED goes off, it's shit's everywhere. If you listen to Tim Kennedy on Joe Rogan, when he talks about when they evacuated Afghanistan, when we pulled out, and when he was getting on, when they were throwing the moms and he talks about this on Joe Rogan's, the parents were throwing their kids over the wall. The babies would fall on that pressing team wire, the barbed wire on the other side, and get tangled, screaming babies tangled in these kind of barbed wire situations. And they were seeing this. This didn't happen once. It was happening all across the whole line at the airport. All this madness and chaos. And I don't want to show them made up shit, right? I want to show them the real shit that's happened, real memories, right? So I can start with the memories from the past. I'll show you Julius Caesar's. I'll show you Alexander the Great's.
That's going to be easier to swallow, honestly.
Yeah, it'll be easier to swallow. But then once you guys adapt to it, the ones that are ready, I'm going to show you what combat looks like now. And I want to show it to people, not because I'm a warmonger type guy. Like, oh, let's fight. I mean, I'm an MMA fighter, but I'm not about that. I'm about what George Washington says. War is the biggest nightmare that we have to end. Sun Tzu said the greatest battles are done without bloodshed, right? War is the absolute last thing we want to do. There's too many civilians and people that get hurt in these kind of situations. War is the last thing. And George Washington says, in order to prevent, the best way to prevent war is to prepare for it. And if I'm able to contribute and bring people together and they understand technology of where drones are heading and how to deal with a swarm drone system, and how to control it using a gesture device like right behind me, the Jedi sleeve right here. That's a gesture encrypted device interface that has an LCD screen that's on it.
I'm not sure we can see it. Excuse me.
Do you see the hand in the glove to my right?
I don't think so. I think it's behind the like the sniper scope that's right there.
Okay, no, it's on the other side of the arm.
I still don't think I see it. I'm trying to see it like in the edge of where your green screen is.
Actually, hold on, because I want you guys to see this.
Yeah, I can also bring up image of the gesture sleeve.
Yeah, let me pull something up real fast.
Yeah, it blends in.
I got something. Give me a second.
And then just quick shout out to everybody who's joining the Stream Raiders. I feel like this is the most we've seen in a while in the Stream Raiders.
Oh, nice, dude. Yeah, awesome. I'm glad everybody's just jumping in. I'm glad I had a chance to talk today. This is good. I'm going to present.
I like hearing about your backstory. I mean, the games you've worked on are like some of my favorite childhood memories. So, especially Guitar Hero. My sister was obsessed with that. She actually learned guitar from playing Guitar Hero.
Oh, I'm going to talk about that too. All right, so there's the Jedi sleeve. Now, this is a prototype that's in development, but this. So when you understand motion controllers and you understand like gesture devices in general, the soldiers and the first responders are going to be outfitted like superheroes, dude. And that's how we're going to have to. We have to force multiply them right now. I was just on my wife walked in and I was like on an hour call last night with Andrew Garcia, who's the CEO of Syndicate's Firearms, and he's a police officer too, right? And he was telling me about he was tired of all the active shooters that are going on. His partner got killed in the line of duty, got shot and died in front of him. He had to go home and tell the parents that their father's never coming home. There's over 55 killings this year just in active shooters at the schools and all this, and it's these kind of devices that with a gesture encrypted device that's a motion controller attached to a drone, you can quickly. And he was giving me a scenario where if you show up on an active shooter situation and you're the first person to respond, and the next unit's only 15 minutes behind you, who's going to have your six? Who's going to have your back? How do you go into that next room without anybody watching you? You usually can't. But with this and a drone, you can pop the drone off and it can have your six. You can send the drone in before you and create a diversion so you can get eyes on the target. So it's not just me. It's a lot of guys that are in the background that want to see drones and warfare change in order to prevent a lot of this shit that's happening. And let me, I'm going to talk to you real quick about Guitar Hero. Because you saw my video. Now, there was something very interesting about, and this was the catalyst of why I left Activision. All right, we were working on this prototype for Guitar Hero that was so badass. We were working with Red Octane. That was they were the ones that did the controller. They did all of our controller ergonomics for our controllers, everything like that. And we had some of the baddest ass dudes at our studio. We had Jan Eric, who's one of the best engineers I know. We had Dan Doctus, who's one of the best combat systems guys I know, but just a data guy in general, right? He's very good. And those guys in the innovation lab were working on the next Guitar Hero with our controller manufacturer, and they were going to make a controller that was very different, that would teach you guitar without you even knowing it. So it was a 3-string controller with, I think, 6 buttons. And you would play this level and you would learn chords without even knowing. It felt like you were just playing a regular Guitar Hero with a new controller. But then when they handed that user tester a regular guitar that they never played, all of a sudden they could pick it up and do a chord. And we knew right then, we're like, holy shit. We can teach these guys how to be musicians, and they won't even know it. We can give skills back to the user, and we thought it was going to be the biggest breakthrough on Guitar Hero, where we were not only going to do these new controller configurations to do human machine interfacing, sort of, where it's just knowledge transfer using that kind of technique. And also, if they applied like my realism to the experience itself, so you could boost your confidence and everything, you would gain skills in a lot of areas, and you could walk up on stage that next time and be more comfortable. And that was what Guitar Hero was going to go towards. It was actually going to teach the users, and it was going to evolve. It wasn't just going to be for money grabs. Like, really, we diluted that brand too bad. And that's why they shut it down. But they didn't realize that we were innovating when we wanted to change it. We didn't want to dilute it like the heads did. We wanted to make that brand have longevity and whatnot. And Bob, this is the kind of shit that happens. And I can only speak the truth. I'm very transparent. And this is not the first time it happened to me. It happened at Acclaim. When I was at Acclaim, they just locked the doors on you. And like literally you're working at a company, right? And you go there one day and the doors are locked and all your shit's inside. Your sweaters, your snacks, your office supplies, all that stuff. And you can't get in. The company goes bankrupt and shuts down. That's what happened with Acclaim, right? And so all of us are standing outside like, what the hell? And they held our paychecks for almost a month, saying, no, we're coming. We're getting funding. Everything's going to be fine. And they lied to us. They pulled the rug over our eyes. And we're all just standing there, and it's a company we cared about, right? So we all had to just move on our ways. That same thing happened to Activision, man. So Activision, I'm thinking they were going to show off one of my prototypes, dude, because they called an announcement that said, we have a huge announcement on Guitar Hero. Everybody come to the the cafeteria, the lunchroom, right? And I'm like, oh shit! I'm telling my boy Vadim, I was like, they're gonna show off the Guitar Hero Live prototype, right? And I had my part in it, and then they had the controller part in it, right? That they've been working on, that cool new controller. I was like, people are going to be blown away. They didn't even see Guitar Hero like that. So I'm looking, I'm all excited. I'm walking to this fucking room. And we're all in there, the whole company, and Guha was the one that was talking. He's like, I'm sorry, everybody, but Guitar Hero's been shut down. It wasn't our decision. We're very, very sorry. Please go back to your offices, and you'll be informed if you've been infected. And I'm like, what? They're shutting down Guitar Hero right now, and the only reason they shut it down is because they're diluting the brand by throwing out Band Hero, by throwing out DJ Hero, by throwing out all these different versions instead of like just giving us some focus and being able to like use our full power towards one thing. They wanted to spread it out like 3 ways per year instead of 1 way like you're supposed to. And then since they made that mistake, they're just going to shut down Guitar Hero instead of giving us a chance. We're in the middle of dev. We're halfway in the middle of the whole dev on this whole thing. We had a whole team. So 160 people get let go like that. Now the CEO, Bobby, all he had to do was say, no, we're going to save Guitar Hero. I'm going to not take my salary for a year because I'm a multi-millionaire and I make $30 million a year, which would cover the whole Guitar Hero team for the next whole 2 years so you guys can release this or something of that nature. Maybe that's too, philanthropists, like to do. But I would expect if I was in that kind of position, I would not have just shut down a whole team like that and fired 160 of some of the best designers and programmers and artists that I've ever came across and just got rid of them like that. I think that was cold-hearted. I saw a couple of my friends that are actually, buying houses, just bought houses at the same time. And we're up in Albany, New York now, bro. It's not like you can jump. It's not like you're in California. You could jump to Riot Games. You could jump to freaking Sony. You could jump all over the place. And, that's when I was just like, I want to do something different. I don't want to be with I can't be with a game company that just lets go of half their freaking team just because they're trying to make more revenue when they could have done some extra There was so many different opportunities that they could have passed. They could have went on to save Guitar Hero, or to take that team and divert it and put it on a new project. But and another thing, the worst thing about that is they didn't shut down Guitar Hero. They actually moved it overseas. They moved it to a different studio to make it so it would cost less to make.
Make it cheaper.
Yeah.
Interesting. And I feel like if they knew that took planning, they knew that was coming.
They knew it was coming. And
they're going to move it somewhere else.
They could have warned us better and prepared us. And the game industry, so, they're like so tight on their knowledge. Like everything, this is our stuff. Don't let it out. Don't leak it to anybody.
That's like one of the best part of NFTs and NFT gaming is that it's so much more open, I feel like, than traditional game development, and it's so much more community based.
Yep. And honestly, and I'm gonna stop. I'll let you talk for a second too, man.
No, you're good. I like hearing you talk. You've got great stories.
NFT saved me, man. I'm not even kidding. Like I was like, how am I gonna make this, man, happen? It's been 10 years now. I've been working towards it. I have all the skills. I've been working with all the right guys. I've been doing these VR experiences, VR clubs, Temptation Towers. All my shit's the most realistic. All my shit is tight. And then I'm just like, do I go to a publisher again? I've been to Ubisoft. I created prototypes for them. I've been to EA Games. I couldn't stand the people I met at EA Games, man. I got so dissed. You won't even see them. It's so like disrespectful. The kinds of things you get. Like me, I'm going to tell this story with EA Games. I redid my prototypes and I made them more for those two different companies, a Ubisoft prototype and an EA game prototype. And I worked on those prototypes for a while. I called them something different. It was called Your Show for EA, and it was a music-based game. And I did something for Battlefield, like a version, like it was like a Roman style. I redid like this whole thing, and I went to EA to pitch it. And this guy, his name's Hans something, man. I flew all the way from Florida. It was like my last money too, man. I spent all my money to make this happen. I flew from Florida. I think I even borrowed money from my sister just to make this flight happen to meet with EA. I sat in their lobby. They kept me waiting for a long time. They said there was going to be this amount of people in the presentation, and half those people were even there. The guy looked annoyed when he came to meet me. He didn't even offer me a water or anything. I just flew across the states from Florida. Not even a cup of coffee or anything. It wasn't even like, hey, we're happy to have you. Thanks for coming this way. Thanks for pitching this. It was like, I'm annoyed that you are bothering me right now when I could be sitting at my computer playing games or fucking around. The game industry is not what people think. 90% of those people in the game industry are dicking off. They're sitting at the computers playing around. Then you have the ninjas, the badass dudes, right, that are working around the clock making shit happen. That's why they call them ninjas, because when the next day when you come in, all of a sudden the game's changing because they just did a feature without you even knowing it while you've been sitting on your ass. So a lot of people in the game industry are just holding on to their jobs, especially in the management positions. And I saw that at EA firsthand. They did not want to even hear me. It was like I was annoying to them, and I started pitching to them. And honestly, this guy was scoffing at a couple things that I was saying right in the beginning. I didn't even want to be there anymore, man. I was just like, I'm not doing this with these game companies anymore. I want to do it on my own. And I didn't know how. And then NFTs popped off and they came on scene. I was like, with the right project, with what NFTs are all about, building those communities, with the right project that really has purpose, that's really going to go after it and work hard with their NFT communities, it's possible now. And I didn't know that. I didn't know that until NFTs. I was sort of like, I don't know how I'm going to make this, but I think I can make it now.
I'm excited for it. Speaking of the project, I'll bring up the website. So this is the X NFT. The website's the xnft.io. It's on the YouTube description, and I will put the link in the chat as well. But where would you say we should start for going through XNFT? I mean, for starters, just the art. Like,
yeah, let me can I take you guys on a tour?
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Right, let me take you just on a tour, because then I could. So you guys see the website. This is the website, but let me show you sort of like I'm gonna share my screen. I'll show you some art firsthand. So like I said, I really wanted to take, you can see a couple of things. You might want to maybe play that video, Sam.
Oh, it's a good idea, yeah.
Get ready for the next evolution of the blue chip NFT. This NFT stores the digital DNA of its commander, unlocking their coded memories.
I think VR is the new frontier for gaming. I don't think people even really seen what a real VR game is going to be like.
I've been waiting for you.
There's so many subtle techniques you can do as a director to make you immersed.
See what I've done.
I mean, knowing your hands, knowing your body position, all that stuff. Audio is extremely important. Binaural sounds, the way you control your audio stuff. So like
more coming.
Working at Activision was a real blessing to me. I'll never knock it because I was able to work on all these different teams and learn the audio side, the tool side, the design side. I would never have the foundation I had without working at a studio. So I don't knock working at a studio. I actually highly recommend it to people, even EA, Ubisoft. You're going to learn. And one of my coaches told me, I don't know what I learned most from my bad teachers or my good teachers, right? You're going to learn regardless of where you're at. I highly recommend going in if you're thinking about developing a game, working in a studio so you get to touch all the different teams, all the different disciplines, and see how they interact. I'm just beginning, man. I've been in training this whole time. I had to go get a bachelor's in computer engineering, computer science, right? I had to start as a tester, right? I had to do mission design, audio design, tools programming. I had to work with the art team. I had to do all those things, and that was still in training. Then I had to create 4 or 5 VR experiences on my own as the director. That was all in training. All this content right now this has all been training for right now. Now I'm ready to fight. Now I'm ready to go to the Super Bowl, and this game is going to be the Super Bowl. And the reason, why I think that this game is a game changer. It's not just about being an interoperable NFT that's interactive. It's not about like taking an NFT so further, because I actually like a lot of NFTs that don't even have to take it further. There's just a piece of art, right? It's just beauty, just like a great song. A great song can give you all the emotions that you want. It can give you confidence. It can boost you. It can make you want to do this and that. That one song, that one picture, that one image, whatever it represents for you, it can give you the world, right? So for me, it's not about like making the most high tech NFT that I can, right? With all these abilities, it's about what will this NFT evolve into becoming for the user as the user evolves and as technology evolves, right? I'm not the same game designer I was 10 years ago, right? I'm not the same gamer I was 10 years ago either, right? And I want someone that owns one of these NFTs that in 5 years, like they can have it and maybe even put it off to the side. And then 5 years, something comes out and they're like, shit, what's these meta avatars? What's these like things that, all of a sudden there's avatars going on in the metaverse. What can I do with that? Well, shit, I have that NFT. I can actually outfit my avatar. Let's see what that looks like. And then all of a sudden later on, they can use this NFT. And not only use it though, I want them to go into these experiences, because all these NFTs are attached to experience. And these experiences are going to be memories. And I really think that history needs to be told in a new way for people to grasp on. I mean, you've taken history classes, Sam. Did you realize all the stuff that we needed to learn about, like George Washington, Alexander the Great, Caesar? Did we get a dive into his commentaries? Did we understand him as a man? Did we understand Alexander the Great didn't even want to be a real soldier? He didn't want to be a warrior. He would have been rather be a philosopher. Do we know his last words? What did he say on his deathbed to everybody? So a lot of people aren't learning from these great leaders from our past that have changed the landscape of the world. America, all the founders of America has studied the ancient Greeks, have studied the Roman generals, Marcus Aurelius, Cicero, Caesar. Our foundation as a country was built on these great leaders, yet we're not being taught all the great information they had to give us, right? And maybe that's because of the mechanism that we're teaching people with. Maybe the next generation's not absorbing books in the same way. Maybe some of the next generation likes Audible, which was like,
oh, I'm one of those kids.
Yeah,
I grew up on Audible.
Dude, I'm through Audible, and I still have people like, oh, I can't listen to a book on the phone because they really haven't tried, right? And I remember before Audible became even popular, people are like, that's stupid. Why read a book when you have the paper book? It's not the same. And
I used to have teachers tell me it wouldn't count. They're like, that's not reading the book. You didn't read the chapter. And I'm like, it went in here. That's what that assignment was.
Yeah, man. And Caesar says experience is the teacher of all things. So I believe a VR experience can teach someone, and it can be imprinted in their brain so they'll remember it in a whole new way that's, complements a book. That complements. So someone that likes a book, someone that likes Caesar, someone likes history, war history, polemology. I don't know if you've heard of that term. Polemos is my gamer tag. Polemology is the study of war, not only from a combat standpoint, but also from a philosophical standpoint too. Why did Napoleon choose to do these certain things? Why did Joan of Arc, at that young of age, why was she so determined to let everybody know that this is God's mission? This is what he's telling me, and I'm going to do it. And how did she persuade an entire army to go to war with her, a 17-year-old girl? You can have any 17-year-old girl across the planet right now start saying the same things Joan of Arc was saying, and it would not resonate. There was a reason why that girl had that kind of presence. And when we talk about presence, we talk about virtual reality. I can give you a state of presence. You will feel Joan of Arc's presence in my experiences. You will feel Alexander the Great's, and you're gonna learn something from them, and it's gonna take it away. And it's not even me creating this, man. I'm telling you, I think energies live. If you study, thermodynamics and all that stuff, you can't destroy energy. It just changes. It's always in existence. All these generals, their energy still lives. It lives in their stories. It lives in their museum pieces. And it's going to live even close. I'm going to bring it even further back to life. It's going to really live in VR.
Speaking of museum pieces, there's a tour, that you had mentioned.
Yeah, I'm going to bring you to the museum right now. So,
assuming that's something you're allowed to show, but yeah, I know it looks epic. Yeah, I'll put it up on the screen. I'll put this full screen too, because this is just.
All right, so here's our museum. So this is the first VR experience we want people to have. It's just coming into a museum. A virtual museum that we can present. We can present the actual staging of everything that's in this museum differently than a real museum. Using, it's going to come alive. You think, basically, what's that museum movie that had Robin Williams in it? Night at the Museum.
Yeah, Night at the Museum. Oh,
yeah, I want this thing to come alive.
As Teddy Roosevelt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Such a good movie.
this is the kind of idea where it's a virtual museum you come into, but I actually would love to have this more than a virtual museum. All these are built for holograms. I would love this to be in a holographic display at real museums. And that's why we're getting so detailed with our art. So like if I take you over to Napoleon. All right. So that's a recreation of his death mask. So that's not on display anywhere, right? There's only one on display at one museum. So people can't just see that. But I could create the hologram of it so you can see that death mask. And they used to say death masks hold the spirit of the individual. So I'm going to have people put on that VR death mask and see if they could feel the spirit of Napoleon as they go into one of his memories. So we created his swords, his pocket pistols, his regular pistols, his firearms. We created their mounts. Marengo's one of his famous mounts.
Firearms is probably my favorite part because that's like as a kid I was very into history. My mom's a huge history buff, so she would always, I guess, force me to go to museums, but I enjoyed it. And I've been collecting Napoleon's guns as well, and you did a great job replicating them.
Ah, thanks, man. Yeah, dude, I'm a museum guy too. That's I'm like one of my favorite places is the Natural Museum of History up in New York.
Oh yeah,
and I would
that's a beautiful museum.
Beautiful, dude. And I was always going there. And what was so good, I'm going to bring up Joan of Arc too. What's so good about the museums is just they immerse you in it, right? They immerse you into the story. So it's like powerful when you walk up at the lighting. Everything matters in the museum, right? The staging. What can I see? And I think bringing holograms, similar to how Beeples brought Human One to the museum, right? Remember what Beeples did with Human One?
I'm trying to think.
Let me show you. I can actually pull it up right now. Because I want to give them a shout out. Because I'm a fan of Beeple. I want to create content as immersive as he's doing in museums. So let me do this real quick.
What? I think I just pulled it up. It's this?
Yeah.
Oh, why did it? Come on.
You can see it in my museum right now.
Take me to a scam site. Yeah, maybe don't try to Google this because it seems. I don't think that was a very safe site to click on.
Yeah, be careful, guys. If you see my screen, share my screen. I'll show you. It's in the museum already. All right.
That's sick.
So we got Human One in here. I even have another one of Beeple's, which is which one's this? Crossroads, I think. Yeah, so I got Crossroads going on in this.
I'm so excited for when we can walk through there. Is that sound from the image?
Yeah, it's from the image. Actually, this is the one I want right here. Boom, boom. Crossroads. Okay, give me 1 second. Let me fix this real fast. There we go.
I just enjoy watching you do this. It's cool.
Yeah. You don't even see the other screen. I'll show you guys my workflow. So I mean, I want our generals all to be in these kind of displays in museums around the world, and I want to show them. I want to show them in a new light in real museums because I think kids. I love what a museum can do for a kid. It can inspire them. It can do so many things for you so I want to help museums with my piece too, because I think there's a lot of stories that need to be told in a new way to grab the next generation of users. That's what I believe.
I mean, I think that's like one of the greatest parts of being human, and the fact that we're mortal, like that we have so many generations we can learn from. There's just so much that people have already done and experienced that
exactly
we don't have to repeat.
Yeah. Don't have to repeat. I mean, there's so many. All the heroes.
This is dope. These are like the popular collections, right?
Yeah, these are all the popular collections. I wanted to pay homage to everybody because I'm such a big. Honestly, I'm a big fan of anybody that's creating an NFT right now, because if you ever read The War of Art, which is like the opposite of The Art of War from Sun Tzu. It's called The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield. I would read that, and it shows all of us artists we're fighting a battle right here. We want to support our families, but also create art that is inspiring to people. I think that's why artists create it in a certain way, that it could help someone in the long run in somehow, or at least help themselves as well, which does help other people too. So I wanted to pay homage to all the NFT creators, because I have much respect for anybody that's artists, especially anybody that's working on a computer, because I know how demanding it is. I mean, it becomes your life. And just when we talk about coming alive, let me show you what Joan of Arc. And this is like the first. This is sort of the first version of what's going to be how the NFT is going to come alive. And so inside this museum, there's going to be a couple things that go on.
Wait for this. I know it's about to happen.
All right, so inside our museum, the actual displays will come alive. The holograms too. So I would love to see this in a real museum as a holographic display, like I said. But this thing will eventually start coming alive. That's why I said the longevity of this NFT. So first we'll start static, right? Start as an image. Then you go check it out in 3D, in VR. Then you start interacting with it, right? Then you'll experience it. And there'll be like a little display that has a headset that you stick on, and then her spirit will come alive, and you're going to play out one of her memories. That's the evolution of this NFT. And we're going to do one of her memories at a time. And if we build on a community and they like that, we're going to start bringing back another one of her memories. And we're going to go through each general and bring back one memory at a time from each one. And this way, museums also have a revenue opportunity to work with us too if they wanted to. We can license out the content or bring in VR headsets that they can have on display. There's so many different opportunities, to get this kind of art to the world.
Comment here. Thank you, John. He said these are the kind of guys that need to lead the NFT gaming movement.
I appreciate that thing. And when like Julius Caesar, a lot of people don't know about his horse Genitar. His horse was just as famous as him. It was like literally, so he had a polydactyl horse, if I'm saying that correctly, which is a horse that had human fingers, right? It's an anomaly. Only few.
Wait, what?
It's called.
This is for real?
Yeah, it's called a polydactyl horse. If you look it up, they have human fingers on their hooves, or one or two. It's like almost a defect or an evolutionary trait that these certain horses had. And when they came across one of those horses, they were really prized. So one of the old generals that had one was Alexander the Great. He had Bucephalus, right? If I'm saying that correct, I always get his name wrong too. Who was another polydactyl horse. There's a great story of Alexander the Great and how he tamed his horse when he was a kid. So Bucephalus, if I'm saying that correctly, I hope so.
I'm going to show real quick. I pulled up some pictures of what it. So polydactyl.
I'm sorry, I said it wrong. His name's Bucephalus.
It's like having like a thumb.
Yeah.
Like it's a horse thumb. That's wild.
So Bucephalus was very interesting. He was a wild black horse, right? I forget his breed's name right now, but he was a wild horse that the king Philip brought, and all the people were looking at him, and they were trying to tame this horse out of sort of entertaining the King Philip, and no one could tame the horse, right? It was a freaking wild ass thing. And Alexander, who was just a kid, right? He was barely a teenager. he's like, if I could tame that horse, can I have him, to his father? And they all laughed. Like, okay, this kid's going to tame him. And they said yes. And Alexander went over there. He went to Bucephalus. And he noticed as they were trying to tame him what was bothering that horse. So Bucephalus was afraid of his own shadow. So Alexander took the horse and pointed him at the sun so he couldn't see the shadow, and then jumped on him and then rode him. And everybody was like flabbergasted that this kid, out of all these guys that were trying, that just fucking tamed this wild ass beast. And that was his horse. So when Genitar...
Yeah, they can't take it back.
They can't take it back. So when Genitar was born in the stables, the freaking wise people are like, there's another polydactyl horse like Alexander the Great's. Whoever rides this horse is going to be the king, is going to be king of Rome or general of Rome. And Caesar adopted that horse. He's like, I'm going to be the general of Rome. And he adopted that horse, and he prized that horse. And in battle, he used to put it off to the side and would go off on foot just so nothing happened to Genitar, to keep him safe.
Just keep him safe.
Yeah,
I love that.
The predictors, they said whoever owns this horse is going to rule the world, and they were right. Caesar became him.
I wish they told him about the backstabbing.
Oh my gosh, what a nightmare, right? Yeah, I know.
They missed that prediction.
That memory, bro. That memory needs to be brought back.
For real.
What the fuck happened there? That everybody turned on this dude. When you listen to Caesar when he talks, I know he got wild. I know he's, he made like a lot of mistakes, but really he cared about Rome more than anything.
I've heard some history that he was basically like losing his mind, and that's why they did it. Like he might have had some sort of like health issue that they didn't even know, like that we may have been able to diagnose now, but they didn't know back then, that was leading to like mental deterioration. And so that was like part of the motivation, but I don't know. I feel like that could just be people trying to make it right.
I know. I think they could have took him out in a different way.
I mean, he was a tough guy to take out.
Yeah, dude, he was. I mean, holy shit. I guess no, they couldn't have been another way. That's what
I feel like he wouldn't have given up unless he was dead. That was like the only
March of Ides, man, had to happen. That's why he's such a legend too. I mean, just like that movie Brave says, there's lessons in the legends, right? So these legendary commanders all have a lesson. Joan of Arc has one. Napoleon has one. George Washington definitely has one. Sitting Bull definitely has one. And no one's telling these guys stories like they should. Sitting Bull is a travesty what happened to that man. And he was like one of the first great Americans, and we don't even recognize him as such. There's so, I'm really, want to bring back these generals, their memories in a whole new way, but really it's all leading up to the one, it's all leading up to what's happening in real time. And this is the one.
You better show us. I'm excited for the one.
This is the one.
So he's essentially like an amalgamation of like modern war.
Yeah, the one might be listening to this right now. I don't know who the one's going to be. The one's going to have knowledge of the battlefield to come. He's going to have to understand how to control the ground drones and aerial drones. He's going to have to know about motion controllers. He's going to have to know about the IVAS and how mixed reality is going to play a real crucial part to the battlefield, and how he's going to interact with machines, human-machine interfacing. The one is going to be someone that I can't wait to meet, and he's going to be the first virtual general. He's going to help us. You're going to have to earn to become the one. And I'm hoping like through this process, we're going to find someone that's like, that could take this even further, that understands how to control, not how to control, but how to protect people online. That's what the one's going to need to know. He's going to have to know about all these things that are happening, man. Troll armies, bot armies.
Dude, the hacks.
All
the,
these
the
hacks.
phishing links.
Yeah.
He's going to have like a VPN built into him.
This can't be the way that the online world is going, right? We have to put a stop. This can't be the wild, wild west where we don't know if we're getting robbed every corner, right? And if we're getting taken advantage of, and all these links that are trying to take us and take our money and take our identities and just steal from us. The one's going to freaking have an army. I'm going to make sure he has an army behind him to go after those kind of people that are really just freaking taking advantage of a lot of people online. And it's the last thing I can do, and it's pretty much the only thing I really can contribute, I think, is like is bringing together a community that's ready to stop or ready to protect people online. And that's what the project's at. It's, preserve the past and protect our future. And I want to put a stop to all this chaos that's happening online, because it's the only way I know how to mobilize people, is bring them together online. You can't make these changes in the real world, Sam. It's like you need to make them online, right? Because that's where you could build a community. You saw what a community on Reddit can do for a company just like GameSpot or GameStop.
We've also seen what they can do to destroy a company. So it's just as easy, I feel like, to do the opposite.
Yeah, and there's companies that need to be destroyed out there. The real shitty ones that are just stealing. All the food companies that are poisoning our people, that are that just put together the worst product for the person, just for the upside for the revenue. There's so many companies that are underneath them that are doing the things right, that are doing stuff right, and then all those companies that are keeping them down, that are doing it wrong. We could flip that with communities, right? And shine a spotlight on, hey, if you're fucking treating animals like shit in your business, and all those milk companies, all those dairy companies that are not doing it correct and not caring about the user, all the ones that are manufacturing food with all the worst oils, all that stuff that are, there's a lot of companies out there that need to be stopped. But how do you stop them? And how do you put the best community stuff forward? Just with the weapons companies. Do you know how many companies right now are getting DoD contracts that have no business getting a DoD contract?
Probably hundreds.
Bro, I don't want to, when we talk about the soldier virtual training system that was just put out, that just everybody was bidding on, it's called the SVT. It's the soldier virtual training. It's using the One World Terrain, right? Which is a system that connects everything. When I'm looking at the companies that are going after this contract, and some got it, it's like, how did you just get that contract? You are not skilled enough to have a contract of that magnitude, but just because you had a better name or your pitch was better, you had better salespeople behind you, and these other companies that were going after it actually had the right team, the strong team, all-American team, the ones that are going to protect everything, not the scattered guys that are going to outsource everything, right? The legit guys, they got passed up by this other thing, and that's our military. So we have companies that
that's going to happen when they have a budget like that, though. Like,
they're going to blow it.
Yeah, how are they going to spend it reasonably when they don't have any reason to? I feel like
they're going to blow it. Look what Microsoft is doing with the IVAS right now. You see the marketing right now that's happened to them because of the IVAS?
No, I haven't.
So Microsoft released the IVAS, and so everybody's training on it in the military now. I think they had 200,000 units go out, and they're getting all this backlash. Getting all this backlash, like, this helmet's going to kill us, right? So a lot of people are backlashing the IVAS right now, and I think the IVAS has so much potential, but I think sometimes they're missing a connection with the boots on the ground, with the actual people that are going to use this product. And there's like a disconnect that's happening that makes for not a complete polished product. And then you're going to create a rift. And then you're going to get a lot of people battling, not wanting it. And I just think...
I honestly feel like HoloLens would have been a decent bid for that. They've been working on their tech for a while.
This is HoloLens. So this is built off the HoloLens 2.0 framework. The IVAS is built off the HoloLens 2.0 framework, and there's so much great possibility with the way they're doing their optics, night vision, thermal. So this thing is going to be badass, but it's all about, is it ready right now for that? Or is there a lot of work that needs to be done with the right people on the right teams to make sure this is a direct, perfect connect? And I just see a lot of things that are, I don't know, I see a lot of disconnects. And I think virtual communities can bring these disconnects together. They could bring a lot of people that are right for the job, NFT guys that are doing the right things, all that stuff. And I think these kind of communities will shine light on everybody that's doing the right stuff. I'm freaking off on a tangent now.
You're good. Stream Raiders in the chat. If anybody wants to join that. So we did have a question in the chat, so I'll take us over to that. They asked what made the project choose ETH for the X NFT.
Yeah, so we partnered with BlockX for this to launch our NFT collection, and they did a lot of research, and they said ETH was our best approach, because most NFT collections are using ETH right now, and that this would be the best approach. But I'm interested, and maybe Sam, you tell me, like, when it comes to like blockchains, how do we know which one's the right one to go on when you're an NFT collection or an artist, right? What decisions, like, what thinking should you be taking in to make that right decision? You educate me for a second. You'll know more than I do.
I mean, it's a tough call. There's
right?
there's advantages and disadvantages to each different chain. I feel like with Ethereum, one of the biggest advantages is they have the most market activity, like dollar-wise. They just, like, projects can achieve a much greater, I feel like, floor price and basically overall value of their collection on Ethereum than they can on other chains. And not to say that they can't do it on other chains. Like, there are large collections on chains like Wax and Solana, and they've done a really great job building, but it was just a different, I feel like, rodeo than Ethereum. Like, Ethereum is almost built for like legacy collections, collections where paying a $10 fee to like transfer the NFT is nothing, because the NFT is worth like $100,000. So like Ethereum's great for, or I wouldn't say great, but I feel like that's where a lot of those projects end up. And like, just the way that the chain functions kind of supports that. And then in terms of like I would describe Wax almost as like the garage sale. Like, you can get items without any large fees. Like, you can trade items that are worth a penny and not pay any fees, trading them between players. So for something like, if you're collecting rocks in a game, yeah, totally go with Wax. And like smaller NFTs like that. But I do see the advantages to going on Ethereum with a larger collection that's meant to be more of like a legacy asset, especially with the legendary commanders and the legionnaires.
And what do you think about this whole ETH like 2.0, Ethereum 2.0, and all this stuff that's going on? Like, because when I was first investigating this, like, they brought me down to some NFT conventions. I talked to a lot of people, and everybody back then was saying like Ethereum's the shit, like right now. Invest in Ethereum. And these were the top dogs. These are like, all the Grant Cardone guys and stuff. The presenters on the actual panel were the ones that were saying these kind of things, like about Ethereum, like the shit. And then, but I'm just like, I'm not sure, like, is there something else that I should be looking at that's coming up that's a competitor to ETH, or is there something else that's like making waves right now? Because a lot of people are asking like, why Ethereum? Why Ethereum? Like it could be a bad choice.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm a huge fan of Wax. I pretty much recommend it to everybody as the first choice, just because, like, as a consumer and as a gamer more specifically, I feel like it's the perfect chain because instead of paying fees, I stake assets that allow me to have, like, I stake a certain amount of money that allows me to have a certain number of transactions. And if I ever get bored with the game I'm playing, I could just withdraw that money and get it back in 3 days and then stop playing the game. Like, it'd be like if I could buy a title and then, I don't know, maybe that's the wrong example. I think that's a lot better than constantly burning a tiny bit of money on every transaction. And just like everybody in the Ethereum community, in my opinion, is just constantly losing value. I mean, a lot of people are getting gains, or some people are getting gains that outpace that value. And it's becoming a value loss that's getting easier and easier to outpace with ETH 2.0 and the fees getting smaller. But it's still forever going to be, you're just burning money every time you want to do something. And I feel like no matter how small that gets, it still matters. You can make it infinitesimally small and it will still matter. Like, it'll add up, because if there's like, if one chain had every person in the world on it and it were Ethereum, like, imagine how much money 6 billion people could burn in their daily transactions. Like, that just, to me, I don't think that would ever be able to reach that level of scale. And if it did, I don't see how that would make sense for the consumer or the project. Everybody's burning money.
Yeah, and when it comes to burning money, where's all that money going?
I mean, there's the fee to the transaction, like
so
deflationary tokenomics.
So right now on the Ethereum blockchain, like who's that CEO, the guy that created it? What's that guy's name? I've been seeing some images.
Vitalik Buterin?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like when there's burned these gas fees and everything, who's that all going to? Those guys, like him and the creators, like where's all the gas?
A lot of the gas fee goes to the, like, basically who is verifying the
like the open
transaction. Well, I guess on Wax we call them block producers. It's all burned. None of it is given to the. Let's look it up.
Because there's a lot of money then, because everybody's there's fees for all the transactions right now.
Right. Investopedia has a good run through. What is gas? Fee required to successfully conduct a contract on Ethereum platform. Yeah, it's used to pay validators for resources needed to conduct transactions, because it's actually getting validated with. Even with staking, isn't it still getting paid out to the validators? Because somebody is conducting the transactions.
There's a lot of money going around when it comes to all these gas fees, because there's transactions on everything every day, millions.
Yeah, I think that Investopedia was an old link, but even with proof of stake, I would have thought it's still going to, like, the stakers that are actually validating the chain. I'll get back to you on that. We'll keep going with.
This is a big industry. This is the whole NFT blockchain, everything like that. There's so much for me to learn. I'm a noob right now, like in this world, and that's, I mean, there's a reason why I'm in it, because I need to know this. I need to know everything about this. I need to know about if I'm on the right blockchain, if I'm not, what happens, later on.
I mean, I feel like ideally it's all going to become interoperable. Like, at the end of the day, it's going to, like, I feel like assets are going to flow freely across blockchains at some point in time. And I feel like at that point, it won't necessarily matter what chain you've chosen. So I feel like the most important decision in choosing a chain is, like, that it's one that where the community is one that you, I guess, vibe with. Like, I feel like the Wax community, it's a lot of people that I've become close friends with, and just like generally get along with pretty easily. And I found some communities on Ethereum where it's the same, but I feel like just in general, Wax has a lot of like gaming focused collectors. And that's kind of where my ideals line up with NFTs. So I feel like ETH is maybe more art focused. There are definitely games on ETH, but
Interesting. I'm learning a lot. Wax sounds really cool too.
And then Badger just commented, so Call Me Trader said fees will go to stakers who validating. That's what I was thinking. And then Badger said, so it's not 100% portion of it is only burned. All good though. I wasn't really sure which one it was. So I'm glad we worked that out. But
yeah, Badger's smart, dude. He's always on it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
man. People like Badger, people like Call Me Trader, people like John, like people that have been around for a while. And I don't know. I feel like it's a lot of like more wax-centric collectors that I get along with better than a lot of what I see on ETH.
Mm.
And I want to say it's safer. I mean, we still have scams on Wax, but I would argue that not nearly as much money has been scammed on Wax as on Ethereum, especially in terms of like hacking wallets and stealing assets. The rug pulls that's like a consistent thing with the space. It's hard to dodge, but yeah, we got scams on every chain.
So when we talk about a rug pull, like what are these guys doing to do these rug pulls? Like how are they getting away with it?
Just never doxing themselves. Or like if the company truly went bankrupt, I feel like a lot of people still call that a rug pull. That's like I feel like that makes it a tough call to make. Like I guess what I would generally define as a rug pull is the team just choosing to give up when they could have gone further. Which can sometimes be like a project that's taking off and the team just disappears anyway, even though like they've succeeded and then they leave. I feel like those are the weirdest rug pulls to me. It's like you built a success story and then just abandoned it because you didn't want to work anymore or because like you just wanted the money. I guess I don't understand what their motivation was from the start, but I guess they just were looking at the money the whole time.
Yeah, man. I know when it comes to gaming.
The pump and dumps are a big thing too, where somebody like, lots of pump and dumps. Sorry, you can go.
No, pumps and dumps, no good, dude. Freaking when it comes to gaming, this is not some area that you just tread lightly. And if anything I've learned in all my years in this industry is this is the fucking NFL right here, man. This is a team. This is like you're in the pros when you want to make a game. You have to be in the pros, and it's like not something you dabble with. Like if you want to be an MMA fighter, you don't just jump into a cage. It's like you get your team together, you're ready, you work on it, you're ready to go, and then here it is. Now it's time to play the game. And it's not, I think a lot of people, just same with the film industry, they just grab a camera. And I saw this all the time with virtual reality. They grab a camera. I'm going to make a film. Then they get all their guys together. Okay, we're going to make a film, guys. This is what we're going to do. You're the actor. You're this guy. You're this guy. And they just try to wing it. And it's not something you could do with games. And I don't think you should do that with an NFT collection. It's like you got to prepare for it and freaking go after it like you're playing the Super Bowl, man. So there is no like, I'm moving on from this. Then you were never really going after it to begin with. Because you don't move on for something that you love, right? It's like India.
Sorry, Badger just sent us something about the gas breakdown.
Oh, okay. He's educating us. I love it.
I feel like after the London upgrade, let's say Jordan has to pay Taylor 1 ETH in the transaction. Gas limit is 21,000 units. Fee base is 10 GUI. Usually, or includes a tip of 2 GUI. the fee would now be the units of gas used times the base fee plus the priority fee, which is like his tips. So yeah, there's the gas that's used and burned plus the fees and a priority fee if you want to add it to try to get the validator to validate your, I guess, transaction before somebody else's. Thank you for the info.
Yeah, nice, Badger.
But yeah, most of it is burned. I guess that's a big reason why if you want something to go through fast, you should definitely add a bonus, because I bet that's something they'd actually pay attention to a lot. Get your transactions through way faster. I have actually noticed that if I ever increase gas on a transaction, it goes through like really fast nowadays. Versus in the past, you could speed it up like 3 times and it still wouldn't be going through when it was still proof of work.
Yeah, we just learned something right there. Increase the gas, it gets fast. So I'll show you the metaphor real quick if you want.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. You're waiting for me to put it on the screen.
Oh yeah, no worries.
Yeah, the metaphor's awesome. Have you ever played? I don't know why it gives me these vibes, because it honestly looks way better, but it's not Totally Accurate Battlegrounds.
Which Battlegrounds?
It's called Totally Accurate Battlegrounds.
No, I haven't.
I think it's Battlegrounds. It should still come up. But they have like a castle in it. It's here. I'll just show you this real fast. I feel like just also the way you're building it with like the more realistic physics of VR, because their whole thing is like the physics that happen in the game are fully accurate. So like you get shot by the wrong kind of gun and your character literally goes flying, and it's a lot of fun to play with. But
it looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
How many players at once?
I forgot what because this is like their basically battle royale mode that they had made, because they used to have the Totally Accurate battle simulator, and you could set up like wars between you could set up like 600 horses on this side and 2,000 like legionnaires on this side, and they would all fight each other, and you could see like what would actually happen if you set up that battle.
Yes, that's what I want to get to, man. Big, massive multiplayer, man. I'm huge on that. That's another thing about this experience, man. It's like I want to go with full Legion battles. And I think that I played Black Hawk Down when that first came out. That was the first 50-player multiplayer game. And when it just felt more like a real war. The more people, the more it's going to immerse you, I believe, because it's going to simulate, especially back in historical times. We got to get full legions battling each other, 6,500 on 6,500.
Yeah, that would be nuts. I remember when was it Battlefield released that they were doing like the 64 people, and didn't they do like a 128 person version as well?
Yeah,
it was just wild. It was so fun. Like it was a whole different game. It was like, because you weren't like, it's a whole different version of an FPS game, especially because it's not really as competitive. It's like it's more like real war. You're just throwing like grenades left and right, shooting it wherever you see shots coming from. Like you're not even aiming at the person, and it turns it into a whole different game.
So it's a whole nother game. Now Matt's like that whole game, but if your Legion's strategic, I'm gonna move my cavalry this way. I'm going to move my front lines this way. I'm going to move my archers back this way. So like the general, like you can have the best of both worlds, the chaos of those big mass multiplayer games, but also the strategic, the strategy level of whoever's positioning the troops. Awesome. Yeah. So here's our fort right now. And the fort's interesting, man. This is like this is the metaphor. This is basically an online lobby. It's a social hub. That's what this is. All right. You come in instead of those lobbies, and this is a big thing before I, went off to go work for Activision. Back before I even went to school, I was in the lobbies, right? I had Camp Killjoy. I was in everybody else's lobby. We're all hanging out. You have your friends. Then if you're going to play another team, you jump in there. So you have two teams talking to each other, right? Strategizing, this is how we're going to start, all that stuff. So the lobby was the first part of the game. It was one of the coolest parts, right? It's where you're talking strategy, learning, but it was all on a 2D screen. Right.
Yeah.
Now imagine you have that lobby now that you can be like, okay, I'm going to get my gear, because right now it's separate. It's starting to come together. You're starting to see like the new NBA 2K, the new version. It's like the lobby and the game is all put together now. And that's what this is. This is a huge social hub. This is a huge lobby where you go in and you could go find out with your different troops, your different teams, where you guys want to go play.
Did you ever play Club Penguin?
Club Penguin,
It's kind of a childish game. So it was out when I was a kid, but the first game I played as a kid on PC that had like a sort of lobby feature, and this is what it looks like. Everybody could like go into the center of the lobby and like, let me zoom in. You could chat with each other like in the lobby, and you could see everybody's chats popping up.
Very cool.
There were a ton of games like that before I feel like gaming turned into stuff like Call of Duty, and they just forgot about that whole lobby aspect that made the game like a whole different game.
Yeah.
Because I would just go in there for hours and chat with people sometimes. Like I wouldn't even play the games because it had like mini games you could go to and different ways to earn rewards.
Yeah, and you see like on Twitch when you know, I don't know about now, but when Twitch was first coming out, a lot of the guys are making their own games. They bring everybody in the lobby, they make their own games, they go in together, and like the host is playing around, right? It's like it's more than just playing that game. You're in that lobby playing Call of Duty, but you can have different games going on. You could just have a game just from you guys just talking and bullshitting, right?
Yeah.
So like you can make up your own games. Oh, we're playing Frankenstein on this level, right? We're playing, Cream the Carrier on this level, right?
Or like knife fights in Call of Duty games where you go into a private lobby. And I remember doing like sniper fights in Modern Warfare 2 private lobbies. It's so fun.
Yeah, dude. So I always like that, the thinking, and that's like the vision, like what I wanted to bring to the X. What we're working on is like, remember that? I don't know. Did you see the movie Troy? With Brad Pitt?
I don't think so.
So if you see the opening scene in that movie was freaking the king tells Achilles he has to fight the best guy on the other side, right? So they each put their best soldiers out there, right? So what I would want to do is like for this collection is like, yo, we're going to put up like this horse right now, Bucephalus. This horse, all right? And we're going to put up our two best fighters. And whoever wins that fight gets that horse or gets that sword or gets that weapon. And I want you guys sending your best cohort fighter, first base. Remember, this is a VR experience. So you better be good with the hands, motion controllers, right? You send your best guy, we send our best guy, and then we win this fucking loot from your team if they win. Or fuck that, guys. We're not going to send our guys. We're sending our whole army. It's on. And then we fight everybody. But you get that option. Hey, we don't have to fight. We send your best guy. Let's see if whoever wins, they can win this way. Or we just come out fighting right now. Or we can actually get each other's loot somehow, do duels. So like duels were big in the day. I mean, I think President Andrew Jackson killed like
Stonewall Jackson. Yeah, I love this story.
Yeah, he killed like a famous writer, famous dude in a duel. So like
he got shot in that duel too. That's the best part of the story. He waited for the guy to shoot him and then lined up his shot and shot the guy straight in the head.
Yeah, this was
like he took it to his shoulder, and then it's so good.
So I want to bring that shit to life where like you're in the social hub and you could just be like, I'm fucking dueling you right now for your pistol. Do you accept? And boom, you can win shit right off the bat and duel people. So like this is where I want a social hub where you can do these kind of experience, but also go to battle with your whole cohort if you can't want to, and Legion, and get experience that history of things. While you're also, some people want to just have fun and do shit like that, right? Or you can actually learn. So we have experiences like Ghost Robotics wants to do an active school shooter experience where you learn how to control a ground drone and an aerial drone as a first responder responder when you're first on scene to a high school or a school shooting, and now you have to control assets. You're the first one in, right?
That's
you can't
wild.
just go. You can't go in until someone has your back. But you could drop a drone now. Someone can watch your back from your 6, and you can learn how to use a drone to actively go into a real life simulation of things that are happening in real time with the real assets, right? With the actual Vision 60. This is their digital twin. This isn't ours. That's a whole. That's what people don't realize. Like, this is their asset that they lent to the project.
What about that school? Is the school an asset they built as well?
Here's another thing too. So we have actual guys that do analysts for school shootings. We have actual veterans. We have guys that do anti-terrorist stuff on our team, on our squad. Elvis Ray that runs Joint Force Tactical right now. I believe that's the name. He's one of our sponsors, and he does analysts behind active school shooters. So this whole situation will be situationally correct. This is what happened when that call comes in. These are your steps that you have to do. Are you going to play this objective? Are you going to go with this mission? Do you deviate from the actual protocol that you're supposed to do? And we can actually train you, and you can have an experience at the same time.
Yeah, and it makes it a whole different experience of learning than just reading it on paper, because like you never know what it's like until you're actually in those shoes. And I mean, even this like won't be the same as the real thing, but you'll get at least more of that, like, because the stress that you get is
it'll be the closest thing to it.
Yeah,
and it's actually more approachable. If you go to a school right now and say, "Hey guys, we're gonna have actors come in here and do a mock-up," it's like, dude.
Yeah, they would tell you to leave them alone because they don't want to be in the paper for that.
Yeah, be like, beat it. You know? They won't even be able to attempt to do that, really, right? So this is the way it's approachable right now through a VR simulation that's actually built by the guys that are actually trying to protect you, the first responders, and their actual equipment that they want to put on the scene. They want to arm schools with the Vision 60 so they can have eyes on the ground instantly that's communicating with first responders. That's what they want, right? Drones. This is a ground drone. Aerial drones, this is all happening. Surveillance drones are out there. Swarm drones are out there. They're already being tested in San Francisco and other areas. They're going to have eyes on the sky. And who wants to learn how to control those in a better way? You want to learn how to fly them and maneuver them quickly so you can get to an active shooter in a school situation faster. You can do repeat testing in VR. That's what's so good about this.
Yeah, you could also like freeze frame and like
exactly.
rewind 30 seconds and be like, all right, let's do it again, and just keep doing that until they get it right.
Yep. And I'm telling you, Aaron Rodgers.
I feel like that's something that's not been thought of enough in VR, is the ability to wind back time. Like, I feel like that would be so fun in a VR game to just like, I don't know, hit a button, you go back 30 seconds and you like see your character like flow back through time.
Yep. Exactly. That's actually, there's a couple games that have that feature, and it's very, very cool. Like, I think, remember Prince of Persia?
Oh, the like Assassin's Creed?
Did you ever play Prince of Persia? It was just called Prince of Persia.
Was it made by the same studio that did?
I think Ubisoft might have did them. I think I
did.
Did you see it?
Yeah, sorry, I pulled it up on my other screen.
You have it.
Yeah, it's Persia.
So that game, you can rewind time in it. So if you fell and killed yourself, then you can rewind the time and replay it.
I did play it.
It was cool, dude. I like that concept. And now
there's another game called Jumper that did that, actually, now that I think about it, based on the movie Jumper. Where you could
I like that movie.
Yeah. I want that movie to be real life so bad. Where you can like jump objects too. It's such a cool movie.
Oh man. Yeah, that movie was cool. I didn't know they made a game for it.
It was just, it's like literally the game was just you jumping your character around. Like, it wasn't really much of a game, but it was fun.
That kind of stuff's good in VR. Rewinding time, replaying the memories. I mean, I think it was Aaron Rodgers that did it recently on one of the. It wasn't Hard Knocks. It might have been one of the Hard Knocks. I don't know if you watch Hard Knocks on HBO. Really good. It's like in depth on preseason with the football teams. And I believe it was Aaron Rodgers or one of the top quarterbacks in the league that heavily uses VR. He's in VR watching all his plays and rewinding it. And I even think I know what company he uses too that does it for them. I think they're called like Striver or something like that. Anyways, they're really focused on Jeremy Balianson started that company, and they're really focused on athletes and replaying footage, watching footage.
It's an important thing for an athlete.
And people are used to it.
I remember like some of my friends in college were student athletes, and they would spend like 6 to 9 hours a week just watching footage. And that was like the required time. That wasn't even if they wanted to like watch bonus footage because they didn't get enough practice.
Yeah. And I know I can train the user with firearms. So like, this is what's interesting about this collection too, man, because people will talk about like, it's a gun collection. It has a lot of firearms involved in it. Gun companies are involved in it and stuff. And people frown about that in some sense because, because weapons are a big part of this kind of stuff with active shooters and all this stuff. So owning a weapon, gun rights, all that stuff. Honestly, I think this is what a game should start lending itself towards. The Call of Duties and all those other games, they're not really teaching you the respect of these weapons, how to load it correctly using a motion controller, cocking it, the respect and how it fires. I think people need to understand weapon comfortability and everything that goes into a gun.
I think that's equally important as the person on the other side of the gun too. Like if you have it pointed at you, you have a lot less fear of that weapon being pointed at you if you know everything about it.
You know it. Exactly. It's being in those environments. So we have 2 different ranges that's going to be in this. We're really talking a lot with Sheepdog Response. This guy, Tim Kennedy, is the man. They call him Captain America. But this guy is the one, he was boots on the ground when they were exiting Afghanistan. He doesn't even have to. He's a multi-millionaire UFC champion, right? He doesn't have to. He was over there evacuating people with his own team in the mix and, could have died very easily, and he has a whole family. This guy is a true patriot. And he literally is training people not only at ranges, at his own range and setup, but he teaches people hand-to-hand combat and self-defense. And I teach kids MMA, and I also just taught at my church not too long ago. The whole community, all the people showed up to learn self-defense. And I love teaching like kids MMA and all that stuff because just what you just mentioned, that confidence it gives you. And I can teach you, I can give you confidence in VR. That's why I'm even here. That's why I'm almost like, I'm ready to retire eventually. I want this to be my last big game. And this last big game is going to give back. And I want the user, I want to teach him how to fight. I want to teach you how to fight because just from what you said and what George Washington said, being prepared is the best way to prevent. And all the guys that understand fighting that have been on years and years on the mat, they're not aggressive. We're humbled. We understand it. But when we get into these situations now where there's weapons involved and people that are out of hand, people that are intoxicated, people that are out of control, we're able to calm this situation. I'm comfortable with detaining someone and someone that understands firearms and
you're comfortable with the weapon too. Like you're not freaked out to go calm the person down because you know exactly what the risk is of that weapon.
Yeah. And weapons are intimidating, man. I'm still intimidated when I get to the range when people are breaking out all new weapons, right? They're intimidating. Like, how do you load this? How do you cock this? What is that? Is it already ready chambered? Is it ready to go? Is it hot? All these kind of questions like these I think VR can open up a whole new way of iterating on comfortability in certain experiences. And that's what the Fort's going to do. It's going to have, it's going to have the different brands that we have partnerships with it. You understand their guns. the FK Burno, the PSD, the Phil pistol. You'll be able to understand what caliber gun this is, how to load it, even from the instructors. This is the instructor. This is the U.S. ambassador for the company, FK Burno, Elvis Ray. He's right here with his dog Bullet. He's actually one of my neighbors.
That's awesome.
We like live in the best community. Me, one of my CEOs, but these are all guys.
I love the dog's head just moved.
Yeah,
that was cool.
These are all guys that want to protect people in the world. They're all patriots that I'm working with. It's why, you know, he's a retired Air Force veteran that used to like freaking guard like stealth bombers. He was on those kind of guys. And these guys are still wanting to train people and still wanting to protect people. And
I still can't get over that dog. I'm sorry. That was like so realistic.
The dog's sick, man.
He even had his tongue like licking the side of his mouth.
Yes.
That's awesome.
I do love him too, man. And these guys, these are one of the guys I was just talking to, man. And Andy Garcia, the co-owner, these guys create the only American-made AK-47. And they're all first responders and veterans. These guys, all they want to do is protect people. Andy was on the call with me last night telling me about his idea about an active shooter and getting drones on it so he could prevent it, so he doesn't have to tell another family that their kid's not coming home, or another family that's one of his partners or a police officer, their dad's not showing up tonight, ever.
I could never imagine having to do that.
Yeah, and these guys don't, a lot of these companies don't have a big voice. They're not like a Glock. They're not like a Brent. They don't have all that marketing power. And I want to bring brands that are doing it right in the gun world. These guys, all they care about is gun safety and active shooters and protection. And they own a gun company, right? So those two things that everybody thinks are clashing right now, you have a whole group of first responders that respond to active shooters that have a gun company and they manufacture it. And they do it because they're creating a great product and they want people to have respect for it and understand it and be on the other end, just like you said, people that can protect other people that from this kind of shit that's going on.
I feel like the respect for the gun is such an important thing too. Like I feel like a lot of gun violence doesn't necessarily come from the fact that the gun is in the room. It comes from if everybody in the room respected a gun, then I feel like that whole I forget what it's called, but like the law or whatever, where if there's a gun, it's going to go off. Like I feel like that only holds true, assuming that there's somebody in the room that doesn't know how to respect a weapon. Because if you've been taught how to respect a weapon, you know that thing will never be fired unless it's at a target or you intend to kill somebody. Like there is no other reason.
Yep.
There is no like threatening or anything with a weapon.
No, and no one's walking. If someone's walking around with a weapon, they're doing something wrong, dude. No one's just walking around with a weapon pointing at anybody. They're gonna get taken out by guys that know what the fuck that you shouldn't be doing shit like that.
Yeah, because I know that's like if you're pointing a gun at somebody, you mean to kill them. So
yeah,
that's
and you could spot someone that's up to shady shit.
Like you could probably spot somebody holding a gun that you don't even see. Like you know what
and
to
those
look
kind
for.
of movements, those kind of mannerisms, I could bring to life in VR experiences. You could start like being like, oh shit, I know that look in real life because I've seen it.
Yeah, get people familiar so that they can end it before it starts.
Yeah, and here's
one story I like to tell about that is like Texas. I feel like is a place that's relatively good about keeping people respectful about guns. I mean, we still do have violence, and it's sad to see it happen, and it's been happening a lot more frequently. But all that said, like there's a few stories of shootings in Texas that the person only got a few shots off before somebody took them out because there was somebody there trained who knew how to respect a gun and knew how to take a life respectfully without, I don't know.
You have to have those guys because frankly, it's we're never going to get rid of guns. It's like getting rid of a sword back in the day, right? It's
somebody's going to figure out how to get it. It's like getting rid of drugs. Like they're not going away.
Yeah, that's
even if you outlaw them, that just makes it harder to defend them or defend against them.
Exactly. We're spending on money. We're spending so much money on to have something that's make believe. It's never going to happen. Take all that money and put it towards our police department, making sure they have active people like that can respond very, very fast, that understand drones, that give them all the equipment they need.
And finding the right trainers.
And finding the right trainers and getting all kids and everybody that are in our schools well educated, right? Comes down with our education stuff. They should be, I think every kid should take MMA classes or a martial arts class.
Yeah, my parents made me do that as a kid.
And every
my school also made us do. We had like police would come in and they would teach. Like there was. I remember one year in lower school where it was like a 3-week thing, and like every week a different department of the police station came in. Like the canine. I remember the canine unit coming in was my favorite part, and like learning how dogs attack people and like how to calm a dog down if it's mistakenly like identified you as a threat.
Dude, I freaking
just really
love
cool.
that.
I feel like it's why I'm so comfortable around police as a kid now. I also did Boy Scouts growing up, so we worked often with the stations, mostly the fire department, but still, I think it's good for people to gain like a level of comfort with that.
Comfortability.
Because it's also not like we're getting rid of the police. Like there's something that's going to stay.
Yeah, we know we need the police. We need to make them better. We need to protect them. They're scared out there, dude. I train with a lot of police departments, right? There's some fucked up areas out there. Jacksonville has Moncrief, and they won't even go and patrol there because I'm an MMA fighter and I'm well trained. If I walked in these certain areas right now, it's a third world nation. I will get attacked. Even me. Imagine some old lady that got lost. She's getting robbed. Her shit's getting ganked. Instantly. There's a place right now that I could go to in my city that I will be attacked. Is that normal? No.
It shouldn't be normal. It shouldn't be normal.
And the police are nervous to even go in there. And because a lot of the police departments, police people need training. I think, dude, we were talking about citizens, but imagine every police officer needs mixed martial arts training. Am I right? Jiu-jitsu? Something at the basic level. It should be mandatory.
And they should learn how to deal with a threat without needing to raise the level of violence. Like if the threat against you is purely physical, you should be trained enough to deal with it with the same level of violence that's being presented toward you. You shouldn't have to escalate to deal with the situation.
Exactly, man.
I feel like that's something that's not, maybe it is trained and just not listened to, but
back in Japan,
we kind of went on a whole tangent here.
Yeah, I mean, back in Japan, all the police officers had to do jiu-jitsu training. They had to. And it's just like, because
the cops that get their weapon taken off of them, that's what really will blow my mind sometimes. I'm like, that should be rule number 1 of not even being a cop, but possessing a weapon. Rule number 1 should be that nobody else takes it from you. Like,
yeah. And if you don't know jiu-jitsu,
that's your right, and you should respect
weapon's
it.
Taken from you.
Yeah.
If you don't know jiu-jitsu and someone else does, that weapon is getting taken from you.
Yeah. Even I feel like if you're at range, like somebody who doesn't know what they're doing with a weapon is very inefficient.
No, and they get nervous very fast.
I mean, heck, I would argue that like a lot of times there's shooters that like if they're even presented with like a force against them, they might back down because like I don't know. I should honestly watch more of the videos, but like I feel like everybody running away just immediately gives them more confidence in what they're doing to like continue doing what they're doing.
Yeah, man. It's nuts, bro. I remember this one story. We're on a tangent now anyways. We'll just keep going.
Yeah.
Right? So, I mean, I remember I was up in Albany and there was a story that was circulating on our news up there where there was this guy traveling to go see his family, and he was on a bus, and there was this madman that was on the bus with a knife and just started stabbing this kid, right? And everybody on the bus left. They all like rushed off the bus and left this poor kid in this madman's hands, and that madman killed that kid to death before anybody even remotely went back in to try to help him. He was already gone. right? Now, if there was some people trained on that bus, that would not go down. First, from a morality standpoint, and knowing, I know if a couple of us grab him right now, we can hold this guy back and he's not going to do any damage, right? And more people need to be trained so those kind of situations are freaking avoidable, man, where people can act and freaking stop this kind of stuff.
Agreed.
And it first comes with knowledge, man. And this is a whole big thing about the war room that I'm showing you right here. Is first, how do we bring in like a lot of people that need to communicate that can get shit done? And our generals that are attached to our collection, you know, I want to build them a war room where we just get live feeds of things that are going on around the world that we can maybe help, whether it's a war zone, whether it's a hurricane, whether whatever's going on, that we can all sit and get communication from it and see if we can do anything to support it. Now, the Ukraine war efforts is wild right now, what's going on with Ukraine and Russia, right? And what do you do when you're in this situation? I mean, I always fall back on what Sun Tzu said. There should be no war, no bloodshed. The best war that's won is with no bloodshed. So right now, how do you support this kind of thing without adding to the bloodshed, right? How do you do that? And I think, you know, first, the more people that understand what's going on and who's asking for what on each side, that we can try to support the dialogue better, right? So we understand everybody's motivations. And then when we look at all the different companies that are trying to support the war efforts, how are they supporting them? Where the money's going to? Are they supporting them with goods, donations? How is everything doing? And you can get a full landscape. And if you do want to support something, you pick the right companies to partner with, because everybody, there's a good information that's flowing through a group of people that can vet it, that all have the same mindset, that just want to help people, that all have a mindset that they want to be something, they want to contribute. And that all of our generals right now are people, I mean, you're one of them, Sam, Satoshi, you know, Calvin, Jason, George, all those guys, man, they all want to make a difference and help people, you know, in life. And I think, you know,
I'm super excited for the education part too, in the whole museum. I feel like that's one of the coolest part about the different legendary commanders, is that like they have different interests in the project of what they want to push forward. So
yeah,
it'll be awesome to have all of us working together.
I know. And so, I mean, the museum's the first thing. We're just going to educate people on history, and we'll see where it goes then. I think knowledge is power, and we start
at a later point. You could even have like they come to life and tell the story of like a battle or something, and you could like choose the battle. I've seen stuff like that at a museum where it's just like something that talks to you, basically like the guided tours. But like something like that with a digital museum, I feel like can be a whole different story, because it could even like you click the button and your headset goes dark, and then like you open up as Joan of Arc at like the scene of her burning, and you get to learn about like how that went down from her point of view. It's like so much more powerful than just being told.
Yeah, man, I'm with you on that. I mean, like that's why the Disney rides are so fun. They're immersive. They tell a whole story that you go inside.
That's a good point. It's like $1 billion industry built off of immersion.
Yeah, and we start here. We start with our past and bring them back to life, and whatever goes from there, wherever we leave from there, it happens. Yeah, boy. Well, Sam, dude, I could talk for, you know, you see,
yeah, here, we should probably throw up, you mind that I throw up the grubfish to do the giveaway real quick?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
Guys,
so anybody wants to enter,
we're going to be giving away one of the Legionnaires. All right, so
be sure to enter your Ethereum address, not your Wax address as well.
Yeah, and I think we're going to be able to maybe even give away one of the first to fight Legionnaires, which is a special one. It's the first one in. It's the first one on the front lines, guys. Yeah.
You're the only one that enters. Right, exclamation point play, an Ethereum wallet address if you're interested. We don't have to do a giveaway. Or just, yeah, just type !play. If you don't have your ETH wallet address ready, I'll DM you after. We'll figure it out. Let's see. We'll see how many we get to enter. I feel like we need like 10, probably minimum to run it. So we can keep chatting back and forth. One thing I did want to ask if you'd seen is, and we can also run this on Twitter if it doesn't, if we don't get enough entries here. But I don't know if you've seen this. There's an FDA approved video game designed to treat ADHD. And I feel like this is like similar to how you're thinking, just where gaming should be moving. Like it, there's so much negative light around gaming, and I feel like it's unwarranted. There's so much you can learn from experiencing it digitally before experiencing it physically. And yeah, like and the whole point of this is they're building like task-oriented games that basically teach children how to like finish a task once you started and not get distracted by other tasks, and rewarding them with like beating the game for doing so.
This is
I would have loved this as a kid.
Me too.
I feel like even the games I played as a kid like did this. It didn't even need to be designed for this.
Yep. I mean, go to my YouTube channel and check out. This is the kind of, I mean, that first episode that we showed you was just like that was just the beginning. 10 years have passed since that time at Activision, right?
Is it Polemos or Lieutenant Dan?
PR director.
PR director.
All one word. Yeah.
Wow, you got 100K subs. Wow.
Yeah, guys, jump on this, guys, if you can. I'm going to be releasing my dev diary on this. So go to the videos. If you go to the videos and let's look up VR, the future of everything. So this is 10 years of research going into what the X is about to be, guys. The baddest ass VR experiences on the planet, the most realistic. I'm bringing back memories right now, all right? So if you go back, there, VR history and news. You see that to the right, that playlist? Yeah, go into there. View playlist. And okay, so I did this. I was trying to bring this documentary to a big streaming platform. Go to the top. Here's the first one. Let's
watch this.
Yeah, push play. I did this. Right. So I was doing this documentary.
Let me.
So is everyone ready?
Right. Hopefully we get the entries while we watch this as well.
What the hell? It's the future.
I know it is for you. Wow. That is unfreaking believable. Wow.
I gotta see it.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. Oh,
wow. Is about to enter the operating room. Breakthrough technology is being introduced today at a gathering of neurosurgeons in Washington, D.C.
Come back? Okay. Thank you, Mr. President. You recognize the house?
Yeah, well, wait a minute. Oh, don't say that.
Without us bringing her there, she wouldn't have had those memories. She wouldn't have remembered the neighborhood that she walked in.
Magic Leap's technology is built around dynamic digitalized light field signal, which can merge realistic computer graphics with what the user sees in the real world.
It's not until like you do a brushstroke and then walk around it that you really understand what's happening.
Virtual reality is bringing memorials to them.
Cook's daughter and son were also choked up over the virtual tour.
This memorial is for him, and I think, to have him see that and to see the expression on his face, it just, I know it meant the world to him.
It's a new way to salute aging war heroes.
We are not hardwired,
and experiences can change this one.
So is virtual reality the future of home buying? Ryan Serhant is realtor with Nest Seekers, star of Bravo's $1 Million Listing New York, and says VR is the future.
If you turn to your left,
yeah, I can see your mum.
Say mum.
Yeah.
Wave.
Hello. Hello, Rosemary.
Say hello.
Life can sometimes keep people apart, but even though they are on opposite sides of Australia, they're about to experience the birth of their child together.
I think he looks like you.
Some people say that VR is isolating and antisocial. I actually think it's the opposite. Yeah, today we need this big headset, and that's not great. We're working on it. But saying that VR is isolating because it's immersive is a really narrow view of the world that you're all building.
Architects, astronauts, soldiers, contractors, all of them using virtual reality goggles in their line of work.
The reality is we all have limits to our reality. Places we can't go, people we can't see, things we can't do.
Swim, Tim, swim.
And opening up more of those experiences to all of us, that's not isolating, that's freeing. And it's already starting to happen. So we're setting a goal. We want to get 1 billion people in virtual reality.
Oh, wow.
How was it able to ski again?
She's supposed to. She's supposed to 15 years old. You made me feel like I'm watching.
I'm glad that we were able to bring it to you again.
Thank you.
You're very, very welcome.
Damn.
Well, I don't know if anybody else was tearing up with some of those things, but I definitely was.
So that was
That's wild.
My first episode was the medical episode, and that's the only one I filmed. And it was all meeting with doctors around the whole country and companies around the whole country, doing interviews with all of them at the different events, CES, and see how they were all planning on using VR to train their surgeons to be better. And I learned a lot about the ADHD and how, all different disorders, even quitting smoking cigarettes, all these different addictions, these habits that we're in, even these stuff. I mean, we're able to know if someone had ADD and putting them in these simulations. You could throw audio cues this way, that way.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point, because the current tests for ADHD are not as accurate as I feel like they should be.
One of the best detectors for that kind of stuff. So learning from all
these
guys,
you can fill so many more inputs than you could in real life.
Yep.
That's a really good point. So sorry to interrupt on that. That was just that got me excited, because I remember getting tested as a kid, and like when people questioned my testing, I was more like I wasn't super willing to defend my position as actually having ADD, because I was like, I don't like, the test was kind of like put pegs in holes and stuff like that, and it wasn't it didn't feel like it was proof enough to even myself. But something in VR I feel like would be a lot more powerful for that.
Yeah. And it's just the beginning, man. People don't realize the next 10 years it's going to be game changing technology. Right now it's just growing. I mean, I've been at it for a long time, and my experience, the X, I'm going to be able to teach you in VR. I don't know what I'm going to be. I don't know exactly how it's going to all evolve to happen, but I know I have the skill set. I have the team. I have the collection now. And now I'm starting to get the elite soldiers together, and we're going to create the baddest ass VR experience out there, bar none. And it's going to be, I think it's going to be what I've always wanted to, my own dream, and is to create a launch title like, you know, a Halo, a Sonic, a Mario Brothers, a Bonk's Adventure, you know, and I wanted to create, you know, Rise, Son of Rome that launched Xbox One. You know, I wanted to create a launch title for VR, and this is the launch title. And it's going to be different. I can't even explain it because it's going to be different than anything anybody's played, because I've done the work, I've done the research. You see, I literally was doing a documentary, hundreds and hundreds of interviews before I even thought that I was even in the beginnings of VR. And that's the kind of dedication I have to having this mission of creating a launch title for VR, and the X is it. So if you become a soldier, just know we're bringing the heat. This ain't like anything anybody's ever seen.
Looking forward
Not
to
like
it.
another NFT collection, even though, you know, I'm not knocking anybody's stuff. It's not like another NFT collection. It's not like a game anybody's experienced or a VR experience, because it hasn't been done like this yet. And I'm on a mission to do it, man. And you're catching wind right now of it. You'll see in the dev diary. You'll see the whole dev diary come out. Wait till you see episode 2. You'll see.
I'm excited for episode 2.
You'll see the whole roadmap. It gets very, very gnarly. There's a reason why I'm creating this right now.
We should do an episode 2 reveal on stream.
Yeah, we will.
I feel like that would be fun.
Oh, hell yeah, that would be cool, guys.
Yeah. Then we can get your like reaction to the video too. And I feel like I gave you my reaction before we went on stream, because I watched it like right before the stream, and I wish I hadn't, because I feel like I had points I had said that I can't remember now.
I mean, we're all here for a purpose, Sam. We're all here for a purpose. We all have a story to tell. I hope by the end, when I'm done, people are going to tell a story where I was a game designer that tried to do something different, that tried to enhance the ultimate game, which is our life. This is the ultimate game that's ever created, right? This is, you know, God has designed the baddest ass game on the planet. It's called life. And if I can help you with your game through mine, I succeeded.
One more time, I'm just going to remind everybody, type !play if you want to join the giveaway. I'm going to start a 2-minute timer.
We got 13 contestants too, boys. All
yeah,
right,
we got enough now.
Someone's going to get one of the first to fight Legionnaires. It's going to be badass.
Where are my Twitch timers?
And these characters, basically, they're your loadout, guys. So I'm arming you. These Legionnaires, they're going to carry weapons. You're going to get a primary, a secondary, and a tertiary weapon. All real stuff, right? Whether they're replicas of Sitting Bull's tomahawk, or it's George Washington's pistols, flintlock pistols, or it's Napoleon's pocket pistols, or his dress sword, or it's Sun Tzu's Dao. They're all recreations of their weapons, or the real brands. You're going to get options: Syndicus, FK Bernal, or AK-47s. So you're getting some real badass equipment. That's what we're going to do. Load out your character. So eventually you can take this loadout and plop it on your character in the metaverse. That's the ultimate goal. So we're going to give you weapons. We're going to give you some armor. We're going to give you some swag. So you show up in the metaverse and everybody's like, "Who the fuck's that?" That's one of Napoleon's guys.
Yeah.
You know, that's one of
have the
soldiers right there, dude.
Joan of Arc soldiers running around.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I cannot wait until the NFT switches to her as the image.
Bro,
that's gonna blow my mind.
Want me to do a reveal right here on her new helmet?
Yeah, if that's allowed.
Let me see if I can pull it up. Yo, because we've been doing some iterations on her, man. So when you
I didn't think her helmet could get better, so this is gonna blow my mind.
Oh man. Let me see if I can pull it up.
I already love her helmet.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, this new one, so we're trying to get as realistic as possible at this, right? So there's one helmet that is like deemed her helmet. Like everybody's like, okay, out of everything that's been out there, this is most likely her helmet, right? But so on the piece of this helmet that they're showing off in a museum, it has these 2 bolts. So there was a face mask there, right? But no one's seen the face mask. So I have the best helmet designer on the entire planet. His name's Scott B. He is the one that's working on my helmets, and he designed what that face mask is going to look like. That shield that comes down, and oh man, he nailed it. You feel her, and that's like when you feel the helmet, then you're like, okay, we're on to it. Let me see if I can pull it up. I can't hype it up that much and not show it.
You're good. We got 5 left, so we got some time.
Okay, cool.
That just gone. Oh, I thought they were both gonna dodge that. Rams is out.
Oh, nice. What is this? Is this when they jump out?
This is called grubfish. So there are controls at the top where people can control their grub while it's on the map, and the last grub standing wins the giveaway. And they can just enter by typing !play in the Twitch chat. It's developed by Gaz and his team at Crittercraft. It's a wax-based project.
Oh, dude, that's cool.
Yeah, and then you can add like custom saw images because like ours is our logo, but the default image is like just a normal saw.
That's a fun little game.
Yeah. So who was that winner? Congrats. Caesar. Perfect winner for it.
Shit, Caesar. Damn, that's awesome.
Yeah, I couldn't have gotten a better name on that one. All right, Caesar, I'm gonna DM you and ask for a Ethereum address if you have one. If not, I could help you set up a MetaMask.
Yeah, awesome. So Caesar, good shit, bro. I like that name too.
Win, yeah, that's perfect. All right. Well, yeah, the helmet.
All right, here we go. This is what we end it with, guys. Let me share my screen.
Before I put it up, I just wanted to show you. This is one game on Wax. It's also a pretty great game right now. It's war based. It's called Warsaken, and they're like it's a card based battle game, but it's a lot of fun. And their art on like the different commanders and stuff is really well
I like
done.
their art right now. It looks dope.
Yeah.
I love
And so
that
you
bird
like
effect.
select a commander and different buildings to play with, and different like WMDs destroy 2 territories in the card game. And yeah, they just did a great job on the artwork. Somebody mentioned it in the chat because it's also war based. But
Yeah, sick artwork. I love that burn effect they're showing off right there.
oh yeah, this one.
Mhm.
There's some cooler ones. Let me see. Because they have one where it's like a shiny burn. Also, sorry to be taking more time with this, but I thought you might find this cool.
This
The
is what's really cool
Fireforge.
about the NFT community, man. When I went down to NFT Miami, is like everybody has like some cool shit going on, man. And everybody's hungry. It seemed like everybody's like you're trying to like just help each other.
Like these ones. It's I love the fire they did on them. Yeah. That's a good question about the Epic Game Launcher. That would be nice to have. Yeah, but thought I'd just show you that, and then now we can move on to helmet. You ready for me to put it up?
Yeah.
All right.
So this is the original. This is the one that everybody said this is most likely her her helmet, based on the age of it, the metal, the shape, all that stuff. Where it was found, everything. So they're saying this most likely was one of her helmets, if not the helmet. So it has these little notches up here that was for a face mask. Even though people say that mostly she didn't wear face masks, but you'll see in some notes that she did have one at one point.
I've seen depictions too where she has it like folded up a lot.
So you see the one that we had before, but this is that's her new one.
That's fire. Oh, I love the crosses on it. So on the original, was that a hole for hearing, or was that like that helmet had gotten shot through the
Got hit
ear?
with an arrow.
Through the ear.
I swear, I don't know.
Ow.
Something like that. I know she got hit with an arrow in the shoulder, so something hit her in the head too. So there was some marks
Yeah.
on that. But that could have been had after too.
Yeah, it could have been somebody wore the helmet after her.
Yeah. But I
Because
think you're
whoever
gonna
was
like
wearing that when that hole went through, they died.
yeah, for real.
There's no way back then they survived that.
Let me see
That looks
again.
awesome though.
I think it's just on the left side too. There's a knock.
Yeah.
That might have took out the faceplate piece. But yeah, there
It
you
could
go.
also just be damage to it. But it definitely looks like it was on a head because of how clean the hole is. Like there was pressure on the helmet that kept it in place as the arrow went through. It didn't like warp the metal in like a inconsistent way.
Dude, it's
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, this is what we're trying to bring back exactly how it could have looked right there. We think that's the perfect face fitting that would have worked on that helmet. And then we're also creating, so that's just part of the helmet. We're also creating her death mask too. So her death mask is being made right now. And
do you have the Napoleon death mask?
Yeah.
That's one I've seen IRL and it's crazy.
Yeah, so let's see. I'll show you Napoleon's and so these are the original concepts on Napoleon's.
For anybody wondering, that was a render, right? That silver helmet.
Yeah.
Yeah. It looked super real to me, so I just want to make sure that everybody else knows it's a render too. Because I feel like I look at your renders and I think they're like legit the helmet, and you're just showing me an example.
That's Napoleon's death mask, the real one.
Yeah.
All right. So
I think I've only seen the colored one, and
this is our version.
Yeah.
So we took his death mask and we did an art piece to it. You see that? So this is his actual coat of arms. So we engraved that on his head, on his face, and this is like the final version. But
he's
when
got
you
the
look,
stars under him too as a legendary commander.
Yeah. So we took his death mask. As you see, they're very almost identical, and then just textured it and metaled it.
I think you made him too tall.
Yeah. He's got to be a little shorter. I know.
Wasn't he actually not like actually that short? People just told him he was short.
Yeah, I think it was more. They definitely parodied him a little bit to make him short like this. But I think I don't remember his height exactly, but I don't remember. I was surprised. I was like, he's not actually that short. He's probably like 5'8" or something, 5'9".
I think he was like 5'5", but also that was at a time when that wasn't far. That was either the average or not far below the average. Like 100 years ago, humans were way shorter than they are now.
Yeah, and plus he had a bat. That's why that's his actual hat too. So this sits in the museum right there. And so what's interesting about his hat is this actual hat was bought out and it has his actual DNA on it. The hat does. So someone could clone him if they wanted to. So this hat, and that's the hat we replicated in here because we wanted his digital DNA attached to this. So that's the kind of like stuff we went into on this one. And I was way off by his height, by the way, guys. Yeah, I think he's 5'6".
You're good. I mean, it's like that's effectively what he would be now in comparison to the average, I would bet. But I feel like it's also because people will put him like in imagery with other like famous leaders, and like he's one of the older ones, so like he's gonna be way shorter than everybody else. Also, yeah, sorry, Jew leader.
Also,
you just wrapped up the.
Also, he's Italian too. A lot of people think he's French.
Yeah, that's a good point.
He's from an Italian town.
They also tried to kill him like repeatedly.
I know, dude. His story's gnarly. They treated him like shit for a long time. No wonder he became so badass.
Yeah, didn't he die from poisoning? Isn't that what?
He got sick, but I don't know if it was from poisoning. And I don't know if it was from malaria or something like that. It could have been
I think
poison.
it might have been a different leader, but there was somebody where they like, they basically like made them eat poison. They like sent them to, they excommunicated them and sent them to an island, and then like forced them to eat poison food.
Dude, there's a lot of fucked up shit back then. Genghis Khan's dad got poisoned. Genghis Khan is another one that has a gnarly story. We have him. He's one of our commanders. We have Sitting Bull. I mean,
It was him. He was excommunicated to an ocean island of St. Helena, and then there's some rumors that he was then forced to consume arsenic. Apparently, it's like a conspiracy, but yeah, sorry. I thought it was right.
he had sons too that was rulers. So it might be like which Bonaparte was that?
Yeah.
I mean, and
But
this
they tried a few times. I remember that. Like he was not excommunicated just the once.
Yeah, he went through some shit, man. And we gotta I really want to start getting I really want to bring some historians in on the project too that really can help, like even help our narrative, like in our discords. And even next time I show up, if we do like a Joan of Arc reveal too, I would love to bring on a historian to help educate us and talk a little bit more about Joan of Arc from a historian standpoint too.
I wonder if there's like, maybe that's something people do on Fiverr. I don't know why that's what popped into my head, but
maybe I want to find a good blogger for each general or commander we're doing.
Yeah.
Like someone that really knows Joan of Arc, someone that really knows Napoleon, someone that really knows Alexander. Because there's like
you should go find like the writers of previous documentaries on the. Because I bet those writers, like even if they aren't historians, they know that person really well.
Yeah, and I want to work with the commanders, like to really bring their story to life. Like you, as a Joan of Arc holder, which one of her memories should we bring to life, right? Are we going to, do we want to show people when she was burned and how that whole church fiasco went and how that whole ruling happened? Do we want to bring that back? Or do we want to bring back one of her battles or early ones,
I almost want to think like bring back other stuff first, because I feel like that's going to be the coolest of the, like the burning is going to be the coolest of her scenes, at least in terms of visually.
Yeah, and her horse, like they said that they burnt her horse Charlie, which was like her, her best
Your
friend.
addition on that is so cool. Like to the figure, for anybody wondering why there's like the burning horse, that's why, and it's so cool.
His texture work is going to get even better on that once we start bringing it even more to life. But yeah, we're gonna tell a little bit about Charlie too, our horse.
Looks like it like fell to ash and then came back together into the horse. It looks really cool. All right, well, I've kept you for 2.5 hours.
Damn, all right, dude. Let's do it again when we do episode number 2 on my dev diary. Let's do a reveal. Let me come back and show that off on your show.
Agreed. Yeah, we will definitely be doing that.
Thanks for having me. Hope I didn't blab the whole time and let you talk.
No, I had a good time. As you know, I love just chatting with you about like just hearing your passion. I feel like helps me find mine as well.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate that. Same with your passion. Ever since I met you, you've just been like a good ball of energy and just a strong proponent for this whole NFT community, man.
Thank you.
I mean, this is a lot of people's life work, like my life work, and a lot of hearts going into it. I know there's a lot of companies and other people that are doing NFT collections to make money, but as you know, you're meeting a lot of NFT artists and collectors that this is our life. We do this kind of art, and we want to make a run at this, and you're really giving us a voice and a stage. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Anytime. Always welcome back, and thank you to the chatters for being here the whole time. Congrats again to Caesar for winning.
Yes, Caesar. We'll make sure
please send me an Ethereum address. If I don't get one, I might have to go to the next person. But it's also going to take a bit to figure out where we're going to get the NFT from, so you have a bit of time.
Yeah, let's talk to Sean. Let's bring Sean in it, and we'll get one of the first to fight Legionnaires for the person that won Caesar.
Sweet. Awesome. Thank you, everybody. Hope you have a good rest of your day, and be sure to tune in to Taco Tuesday, I think in 2.5 hours.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thank you, Dan. Have a good one.